Ram trucks built to serve.
We'll get to the Astros in a second, but first, Michigan, Rutgers, Miles Johnson throws David DeJulius' shot attempt right back in his face.
But Michigan, first team to beat Rutgers at the rack.
And
Rack's
that
a
was
tough play.
a nice step back, spinning step back until the block. He just didn't create enough space.
So it wasn't a nice step back.
The young ones like it, though.
They do.
All right,
They
Drake
just like to move.
Valparaiso.
Oh, that's nice.
Dunks all over the Valpo defenders. This is strong.
That's nasty.
Dang.
That is really
Whew.
nasty.
Filthy. Oh,
That was a big guy, too, coming at him for help.
Watch this one.
Virginia's
This is the old
back.
Larry Bird
Miami
shot.
Hokies freshman Tyrese Radford makes a crazy shot
Wow.
from behind the backboard.
Looked like he'd been
Try it
practicing
again.
that, too. He did it real smooth.
that's H, right, in horse.
Wait, is
the
he
left.
He's left.
left.
Is he
He left.
left?
Oh, left.
Oh,
But did it
okay.
with the left.
That's legal?
That's nice.
But that's
didn't
legal.
cost
Remember, they
anything,
waved
yeah.
off Larry Bird's shot.
I wouldn't think it's legal, but
Maybe in the state of Virginia.
All right, we're moving on to the Astros. They continue to receive backlash stemming from their sign-stealing scandal. The latest coming from Giancarlo Stanton, who led the majors with 59 homers back in 2017 for the Marlins. The now Yankees said, quote, "If I knew what was coming in 17, I probably would have hit 80-plus home runs."
That's not even a humble brag. That's just a brag.
We know that they don't really care to give an apology or explain their side, and it showed by their response. As players, we know that. You know the repercussions of doing something like that, and you're only really sorry because you got caught. I don't think the penalties were harsh enough player-wise. I think that at the end of the day, it gives more incentive to do that if you're not going to punish the players that took part in it. CB, what's your reaction to Stanton's statements?
I agree with everything he said. And starting with the 80 home runs, because I want to dispel, and I think he's dispelling this notion that some people have thrown out, starting with Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, that it really doesn't matter. You still got to hit the baseball, as they say. No, we're dealing with world-class athletes. Yeah, for Doug or me, or any of us, if we know a curveball is coming from an MLB pitcher, it doesn't matter. We're still not going to hit it. But for world-class athletes, the difference is this much. The difference between a gold medal and finishing out of the medals, or a Super Bowl and not even making the playoffs, is this much. So if you give a Major League Baseball player the advantage of knowing what pitch is coming, it is a huge advantage. So I love that Stanton said that. As far as them not really being sorry, clearly they aren't really sorry. Because if you're really sorry, then you don't need to demand immunity to get the truth out, right? You're just sorry. You feel remorse. And let me say this about the Astros. They're no different than most people. Most people that cheat aren't sorry unless you got caught. Now, we're not talking about doing a crime. Some people can do a crime and you really feel remorseful and you're sorry. But most people that cheat on a test, in sports, whatever it may be, you're only sorry because you got caught. And I think that's very clear. The Astros haven't really made clear-cut apologies. I mean, some guys have gotten there, but some guys are not. And then there was a story in the Washington Post yesterday where the Astros players, Josh Reddick, one of the pitchers, they're like, look, we're going to take the villain role. All these teams that are talking, they're going to have to see us. We're going to go and shut everybody up. Like, now they're kind of looking at it as a challenge, and they're not coming off at all as remorseful. Kind of like, remember LeBron when he went to Miami?
Yeah,
they want to embrace the black hat.
Durant when he got to Golden State.
Right. And so, no, I think Stanton was right on the money.
I do, too. I mean, it did sound like my cab driver yesterday, right? He was like, Stan would hit 8 home runs if he knew it was coming,
You
right?
don't think so? I more want to know if you think you could hit a Major League pitcher throwing a curveball if you knew it was coming.
Couldn't hit a fast. I mean, I can't hit a fast.
I couldn't touch it.
Like, but
that's the difference. But you really hear people saying, well, it doesn't matter. You still got to hit it.
Well, two parts. Okay, one, here's the analogy. If you take a test, you don't have to have the answers. You have the questions. You're going to do better at the answers, right? Secondly, Matt Holliday is a dear friend of mine. He's a 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. He was on my radio show, and he's like, are you kidding? Of course it's an advantage, right? If you know what's coming. Like, this is just the most ridiculous. When I think the Astros did far more damage when Jim Crane got up there and arrogantly said, and then he contradicted himself about it. It didn't affect the outcome. But Stanton's not only right, not just because they still didn't really apologize.
They actually also said I can't remember which player, but we want it fair and square. It may have been Korea or something.
Korea's like, we want it fair and square. You know, when we're on second base, you can't steal signs. Well, how'd the guy get onto second base? And how'd you have such a great record so that you had home field, like, listen, they were a great collection of talent, right? They tanked in 2013. There's a whole other story to it, right? I think there's different levels to why Major League Baseball players are upset. Okay, they're upset because the Astros told the whole world we're smarter than everybody else. We got better analytics. We know what we're doing. They tanked. We got all these great players. We got these high-speed cameras. And then when they were accused of this before, they just said, hey, you're just not as good as us. We do a better job of preparing. So I think the arrogance of Jeff Luhnow, their former general manager, and the way in which A.J. Hinch even handled some of these accusations in the past really rubbed people the wrong way. The second part is they've still never made a true heartfelt apology. And once we've heard your first apology, we're kind of done. This is not that hard. Hey, we did something. It was wrong. We feel bad. We won't do it again, and we'll take whatever punishment. The crazy part about them not cooperating and demanding full immunity, and the MLBPA demanding full immunity, is the MLBPA put out a statement yesterday that said it didn't even matter because the commissioner couldn't suspend these guys anyway, based upon precedent with the Apple Watch scandal and the investigation a couple years ago. Is you have to punish, the GM and the manager and the coaches. You can't actually. They were actually immune anyway, and they still wouldn't talk. They still wouldn't really offer up anything outside. This only happened in 2017. Stop it. You win a World Series by cheating, and then all of a sudden 2018, 2019, you get religion when you haven't been caught?
Right.
Get out of here. Like, I was born at night, not last night. So I agree with what Giancarlo Stanton's saying, but I would also point out this one last point. I don't think the steroid era happens today. I don't think, and I think players have changed. And there's never been a moment in professional baseball, ever, where there has been union members going after other union members. Never.
Right.
Barry Bonds is hitting 73 home runs, clearly on horse steroids, right? In his late 30s, doing things we've never seen before. His head size grows, and no one said bubkiss about it. Even when he was caught, no one said anything about it because that was how it was forever in baseball.
But don't you also think? Look, Jose Canseco, who actually ended up being right about a lot of stuff.
Yes.
He said it was 80% of the players doing steroids. And a lot of the pitchers who Bonds and other players were hitting homers off were doing the steroids and the PEDs. So I think that had a lot to do with it as well. I agree. This is totally unprecedented for baseball players to go after one another like this. However, I think the silence in the PED era was largely due to the fact that 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 guys were doing it.
I don't believe, like, Jose Canseco, who was right about things, when cheaters say, like, hey, well, everybody's doing it, right?
That's how
everyone who does something said everybody's doing it.
That's how I felt at first, but then more and more and more guys start getting caught, and some of the biggest names in the sport's history.
Right.
And so I started thinking, you know what? Canseco seems like he was right.
But I think these guys have learned from that. I think they understand. And look, it was going on in other places in Major League Baseball. Maybe not to this level, but the sign stealing and the use, and the use of those cameras. Like, look, it was going on, and that's one of the things that Rob Manfred came out and said, like, be very careful about the glass house you throw a rock from. But I do think that they've learned from steroids, and they're speaking out because they don't want to be indicted as being cheaters as well.
With all this being said, what's the path forward? We've talked about this so much, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger, but how does MLB forge ahead?
I've said it since the investigation report came out. Vacate the title. To me, it's simple. It's not even that complicated. I get it, you can't punish the players individually. But if you take away the World Series title, the rings, the trophy, and you try to get the money. I mean, the way the players are talking now, maybe you can even get the $429,000 that they got for winning the World Series. But if you can't get the money, see, you're immortalized when you win a World Series or any championship. Right. And you take that away from them if you strip the title. Also, it gives everyone else a feeling that justice has been served. And I think it'll enable the rest of the league and the Astros even to move on. So I think it's simple. Just vacate the title.
I agree with you. and I think this is why the steroid guys that got caught, and I know that Pudge Rodriguez is in there, already in there, and everybody, and most people in baseball believe that there are others that were using steroids already in. But Bonds, Clemens, Pete Rose, you should never get in. Why? Because of the immortalization when you're in the Hall of Fame. And that's why I completely disagree with Rob Manfred. I didn't mind when he was talking about hardware, because what he's saying is if we take away a World Series trophy, it's more symbolic because we can't take away those memories. And he's right. Okay, but symbolism is one of the things that that links in with immortalization, right? And it's symbolic when we put an asterisk. But I like the asterisk even better because then
I like erasing.
Because, yeah, but erases it, you try and pretend like it doesn't happen. When you put an asterisk, anytime you look it up, you're like, wait, why is there an asterisk there? Oh, that's the team that cheated. That's the team that used sign stealing, banged on trash cans, and then, denied it for a couple years, and Mike Fiers came out. I think it's symbolic. This is just like the Hall of Fame and steroid users. Can't take away your money. Can't take away your records. Can't take away those memories. Sorry, we can't. But we can take away the immortalization of being in Cooperstown. Same thing with the Astros. We're not going to take away your money. We're not going to take away those memories. We can't do that. We can't even suspend you because of the CBA. But what we can do is take away the symbolic nature of being a World Series champion.
All right, we're going to take a break. But coming up, why is Emmitt Smith telling Dak